up, guys? Welcome back to the ABNF Podcast. I know it's been a couple of weeks since we dropped another, our last episode, but I'm here with my buddy Nick. And Nick, we have a special guest today, Ali Mahmood, good friend of the show. And Ali, we love that you're here today to talk some hoops with us. And you want to give the audience a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, of course. So my name is Ali. I'm excited to be here. I'm a longtime basketball fan, but I really appreciated your guys' podcast. I think you guys are doing really good work to make sure that, everyone knows about ball that's outside of the Lakers and the Celtics. So I'm excited to talk about some basketball today. I know that we got a lot of fun stuff planned.
Definitely, man. And we love that you're on. Definitely would love to talk more than just the Lakers and Celtics. And Nick, do you want to break down what we're going to go through today?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to talk about like our top five either teams or signings. We're going to talk about like our sleeper signings as well. We're also going to talk about the Jaylen Brown contract and what's our reactions about him being, the highest paid player in NBA history. We're also going to talk about how the rookies have been performing in the NBA Summer League so far. And I'm very excited to get to these topics today. It's going to be a great episode.
No, definitely. And I think it's going to definitely be great to talk about free agency. I know that the last time that we were on with KJ, and for all those who haven't watched that episode, link will be down below. Please give it a listen. We definitely had a really good time with KJ. And one of the things we were talking about was just after the Bradley Beal trade and everything that was going on, free agency was about to start. The draft it was I think a day before the draft. Yeah. So there's been so much that's been going on. And Nick, I think really, I just wanted to before we really dive in, it's been crazy to see what's happened in free agency. I mean, I look at it like the Nuggets, I still will say are going to be one of the top contenders out there. You have to give respect to the champs. But, they lost guys like Bruce Brown to the Pacers, Jeff Green to the Rockets. And, you expect a guy like Christian Braun step up this year. We've seen it with the Suns too. They basically just redeveloped their whole roster in an offseason. And guys are getting paid the bag, Nick.
The absolute bag. It's crazy.
Yes. And starting off, man, do we want to talk about, our biggest surprises of free agency? Like, what was your biggest surprise of free agency?
That Houston actually got players to come to Houston. I really think, them getting Fred VanVleet, a guy that averaged 19 points per game, 7 assists, 4 rebounds, and almost 2 steals a game. And also I know a lot of people have been throwing shade on Dillon Brooks, but, he did average almost 15 points a game last season. He could shoot the ball. He's a really good defender. And I think both of those players are going to fit really well in Ime Udoka's system. Guys that are going to be playing under Ime Udoka, you got to play hard. And those guys, play hard both sides of the floor. So I think those were really good signings to pair up with all the young talent that they have on this team. Jalen Green, Jabari Smith Jr., Kevin Porter Jr., Sagoon. They just drafted Amen Thompson and Cam Whitmore. So they got a lot of talent on this team, and they really needed some veteran presence and a new head coach. And I just think Houston, did a tremendous job this offseason.
I agree with what Nick said. I mean, the Rockets truly did phenomenal this offseason. I know that Dillon Brooks comes with his own little asterisk next to his name about all the drama that he went through with the playoffs with LeBron, but honestly, a guy like him, he has a role to play, and I think that he knows what that role is. And I think paired next to these younger guys, especially these really developing good players in Jalen Green and Şengün, it's going to be really great to see how that's going to work out, especially with an unselfish guy like VanVleet. I mean, he's always known the Raptors, but he's always been good on the Raptors, and he was a good ball handler. He's a good shooter, but he's also really good at making plays. And I think that setting those plays up for Green and Şengün is going to be really good.
And honestly, Houston, on paper, they have one of the deepest teams. Now, I don't know if I want to call them a contender yet, but this team on paper does look nice. I just got to put that out there.
Definitely agree with you on that. And I think that could be one of the teams that might be our surprise teams for this year too. I definitely expect them to be in the play-in, possibly make the playoffs. Just depends on how well they mesh together. I will say the one thing though with this whole thing, I think is insane is that they paid over $200 million for just those two guys. And they also got a couple other free agents too, Jock Londell and Jeff Green to also come over there. So I think that was a huge free agency signings. And I remember that you had texted me right as like Fred VanVleet had signed that 3-year deal, and you were like, Fred got the bag. So yeah, I think that he'll definitely be a great mentor for a lot of the younger guys in Houston. But I think something that we also mentioned too is like, what happens to like Kevin Porter and, like what his development, because I think that that's the only thing that I could see being a problem is the development of the younger guys with a guy like Fred VanVleet, who's going to need the ball in his hands, obviously, to be able to facilitate for others, but also to get his own shots. Cause he was like one of the like primary guys shooting for the Raptors even last year, and basically every year since Kawhi had left. So that's just something that I do want to point out real quick. And even to move forward with that too, I think one other surprise before we continue is the Pacers got Bruce Brown, and he got paid a lot, $47.5 million. I mean, do you guys feel like that was a good signing? Does that make the Pacers more of a playoff team? I know they got Halliburton, and I love Halliburton. You know how I feel about him, Nick, but what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I think the Pacers are definitely going to I think they'll at least make the plan. Maybe the last spot in the playoffs, who knows? They also have a nice roster. Now, obviously, Buddy Hield has been in trade talks for so long now. Miles Turner's been in trade talks for so long. But, the Bruce Brown signing, I think Indiana's trying to make a statement that they want to put as much talent around Tyrese Halliburton as possible. He just got the bag, and they don't want to waste any years of him getting paid the bag to just keep not having really good teams. So I think Indiana did a really good thing of signing Bruce Brown. Is it an overpay? I mean, everybody's getting overpaid now. But
that's true.
At the same time, it's a great signing. Bruce Brown is an up and coming, player that plays both sides of the ball. I mean, especially defensively, he's one of the best defenders in the league.
And I agree with what you're saying, Nick. I think that, signing Bruce Brown definitely moves the Pacers up, but I think that the East is really talented. I don't know if that makes the Pacers better than some of the other teams right now. The other teams also in the East got better. I don't think that any
Cleveland
teams besides Cleveland's my favorite right now to be number one overall. I think that I know it might be way too early, but I mean, like, their core four, I mean, like, with Garland, with Mitchell, Jared Allen, Mobley, like, they are looking to be a phenomenal team. And I appreciate what the Pacers are doing. I don't know if they can make the play-in given the talent in the East.
No, I mean, it's a hit or miss with that one. I think that if Halliburton can stay healthy, and Bruce Brown could continue to play the way he did in the playoffs with Buddy Hield and Miles Turner on that team, they could be a surprise like 9 or 10 seed that might like sneak their way into the playoffs. I mean, anything's possible. Like, look at Miami. I know that they were the 8th seed and like they weren't really an 8th seed, but I mean, like, stuff like that can happen. I will say, Nick mentioned the Cavs. Strus getting $64 million. I know, everybody's going to get paid and stuff, but I feel like with how bad he played in the finals, and I get it that he's, he can be very streaky and he brings a lot to the table, but I felt for the Cavs, like, that's a lot of money to give to a guy that just shot like it's like 20% in the finals. I mean, I don't know, but if you're going to be a contender, like, that's something that I would be thinking about too.
And
yeah,
I think,
yeah. My bad. Yeah.
So
no, you go ahead. You go ahead.
And I think also what you're saying, I mean, like, you have guys like Strus already on this Cavs team. He's not making any meaningful dent, I don't think, on the Cavs team. I think that he had a solid role to play in Miami, but I don't know if he's going to translate that same talent over to Cleveland. I think that the Cavs have their solid guards, even their bench is pretty solid. I think that having Strus come in, I think it is a bit of an overpay for the Cavs.
Hey, don't forget they signed Georges Niang too.
That's true.
Another shooter.
That was a
good.
He
he shot over 40% from three. I think they got him at a discount, to be honest with you. The way the market is today, I think. And Cleveland still kept Karis LeVert. They re-signed him as well. Cleveland's deep. They got a lot of players that they could throw in. And I know Strus it is an overpay, but I mean, like, besides like the finals and stuff, like, he was always really solid playing his role in Miami. Now we'll see how his role will be in Cleveland. It might not be as much of a role as it was in Miami, but I really like the Niang signing. That's one of the sleepers.
Yeah, I think I was looking it up earlier and I totally forgot that Georges Niang went to the Cavs, but That's a solid signing, especially like for the second unit, because they don't really have a backup four after they got rid of Kevin Love, buying his contract out and just like having him released. So I actually like that move. I'd also say too, like I get what you're saying about Strus. You know, like him, like he's consistently like a pretty good 3-point shooter, and he's been the starting like shooting guard, small forward for the Heat for like the last 2 years. So he's going to bring value for sure to that team. Now, I mean, I hope that the Cavs don't get knocked out in 5 again in the first round like they did this past season, but you know, we'll see what happens. And to kind of talk a little bit more with like all these free agent signings, do we want to go and give each of us our top 5 signings? So this can be either you're re-signed with your team or you went to a new team. So Nick, do you want to go first on that?
Yeah, sure. So I already kind of brought up my number one was kind of like Houston being able to get some veterans in there, especially for Fred VanVleet. I think that's a big signing. That's going to be huge for Amen Thompson. And just like you said, Graham, I think Kevin Porter Jr. is going to be on his way out, unfortunately. But he's very talented, and he's going to get a lot of interest from a lot of teams. And Houston could add a couple more pieces with those moves, add some draft picks, of course. Number 2, I think overall, like I hate to bring this team up, but it's the Lakers being able to keep their guys, you know, with Rui Hachimura, Austin Reeves. They kept D'Angelo Russell, but they also added Gabe Vincent, Jackson Hayes, Torian Prince, and Cam Reddish. So they added a lot of guys to this team, and this Lakers roster looks really, really good. And Rob Pelinka, again, you know, has been doing a fantastic job actually for the last few seasons with this Lakers team. The next one is the Dallas Mavericks. Not only they kept Kyrie Irving, but I think they had another couple sleeper moves as well. Sign and trade with Grant Williams. They needed some defense on this team, and he's one of the best defenders in the league. And he shot over 40% for 3 too, so he could shoot. And also they got Seth Curry. That's another shooter. So they're putting shooters on the floor with Luka and Kyrie. And, you know, Grant Williams is going to help defensively. And to me, they got one of the best first round draft selections. Derek Lively is going to fit really, really well with this team. Now, people are like, oh, he only averaged like 4 points per game at Duke, but he was one of the best shot blockers in the country. He's an elite rim protector. And that's something that Dallas has really needed for years. Dwight Powell, I think they re-signed him, but he's not a rim protector. Derek Lively's going to see a lot of minutes in his rookie season. He's going to do really well with this role in Dallas. So I really like that as well. And also I brought up, you know, the Cleveland Cavaliers already with Niang and Strus. I think they had a really good, not only offseason, but I think Amani Bates is the steal of the draft.
Yeah, that was a huge pickup in the draft for them. And I definitely agree with you on that. So I would say, Ali, you're the guest. You want to give us your top 5? It can either be a signing or a team, whatever you want to go with on that. So give us your 5.
So I think that number 1, obviously I'm a Bulls fan, so I appreciate the Bulls doing their signings. It was really controversial about what they're going to do. I think that re-signing Vooch was a solid move that the Bulls did. Obviously, you know, there's not many great centers out there. It's hard to find answers. There's not many answers for the Embiids and the Jokic's in the league, you know. And if you're not Embiid or Jokic, it's really hard to really stand out as a center. But Vooch is that guy. He's a guy that can shoot the 3. He's really good in the paint. He's really good for the offensive rebounds. I think that it was a really tremendous signing by the Bulls. I think that they did a really good job by picking him up. I think
he took a pay cut to stay in Chicago too. So
and I think that's significant. I mean, like that's clearly a guy that's committed to this team, and having him is going to make a difference. I think that teams, I mean, like it shows, you know, season by season, teams that stick together have long-term success. I think another big pickup was Jeremy Grant for the Trailblazers. Him getting that like really big at the time, it seemed like a really big contract. But I do think that he deserves it. I mean, like there's questions about where Dame is going to go, if he's going to go to Miami or what's going to happen. I think that Portland did a strong move by picking up Grant and letting him have that contract. He's a solid guy, very good. He's a very good solid stretch. He's great at shooting, rebounding. I mean, like he's a solid guy. And again, if they move away from Dame, he immediately becomes the first option. I think that especially with picking up
Scoot Henderson in the draft.
Scoot, yes. Picking up Scoot, he's going to be a great influence on Scoot too, especially because, you know, it took me by surprise thinking about this, but Grant has been in the league for some time. And up until like last year or even the year before that, when he was doing good on the Pistons, he was very a slept on guy. He's a second round pick. And the way that he's been playing on Portland is just incredible. So I think Portland definitely did good there. The third one, this just got sort of like shrouded with everything else. Malik Beasley getting picked up by the Bucks. It was just very like under the radar. Malik Beasley is one of those players that like he gets overshadowed. But I mean, like if he's a first option on team, he's a pretty solid player. Here, obviously, that's not going to happen for the Bucks. They're probably going to run the ball through Giannis. But having Beasley come off the bench definitely takes the load off of, you know, Chris Middleton, and it gives them another player that they can run at three. I also think that Derrick Rose going to the Grizzlies was huge. I think that, you know, the Grizzlies as a franchise, they definitely need someone that is going to be in that locker room giving those talks to John Morant. And the leadership in Memphis did make clear that they want Rose on the floor. They don't just want him to sit on the bench like he did for the Knicks. And Derrick Rose is one of those players that has a lot to give the game. And I think that, you know, obviously, you know, people talk about his peaks and things like that, but I think that Memphis is a good place for him to be. Finally, obviously, I think the Kyrie re-signing was good. Kyrie's a phenomenal player, and everyone always says that he's a locker room cancer and things like that. But I really think that his addition to this Mavericks team is going to be great. We saw like phenomenal teamwork between him and Luka, and I think that that's just going to continue. I mean, like we we only got to see it for a short amount of time, but I think that seeing it for like a full season is going to be incredible. I think that running that Luka Kyrie court is going to be really great. So I think those are my top five.
I really I like
it.
yeah, I was gonna say one of my teams that I had is like one of the biggest winners of the offseason. And even though they didn't do anything like crazy, was Memphis. And it was because of, like you said, the Rose signing, but also trading for Marcus Smart. I think, you know, having good mentors and 2 point guards and Marcus Smart and Derrick Rose is going to help Ja a lot mature and grow up. Because I mean, like when we think about it, a lot of times is that when guys are in a bad crowd and they kind of have too many distractions off the court, it takes away from what they're able to do on the court. And John Morant's one of the most gifted players in the NBA right now. Like, we can't even deny that. This guy is top 10. He's box office. He can literally do so much, and he can jump out of the gym. And I think also getting rid of Dillon Brooks was actually a good thing. I feel like he had become more of a distraction. I think with Desmond Bane becoming more of a focal point on the team, I felt like Dillon Brooks just didn't really have a role anymore on the team. And to be honest, like, I know like the Celtics, you know, we could talk about the Celtics being a huge winner because not only did they get Kristaps Porzingis and draft capital, I don't know how Brad Stevens was able to do that, where he got 2 first-round picks and got the best player in the trade. Don't understand it. Washington's front office, I don't know what they do, but if I could be a front office person and get paid millions too, man, please sign me up, because I would have gotten a way better package back for Kristaps than what that garbage was. But they did get Tyus Jones
and Bradley Beal.
Yeah, I mean, like that's insane. Like you got Jordan Poole and Tyus Jones. Not to say that Tyus Jones, and I know Nick, you've really enjoyed Tyus Jones. You only lost Tyus Jones really in that trade, and as much as I'd like to say it, like Tyus Jones was never going to get to his potential on this team because you have John Morant. So I think that's like another thing too. And I hope that Derrick Rose does play, because I mean, it's great to see him still be able to get up there. I know he can't give you 30 minutes like he used to, but you know, even like 20 minutes, maybe like 18, 20 minutes a game, you know, being like a guy off the bench is really good. I'm actually going to go with one that's just a player, and I'm going to say Draymond Green re-signing with the Warriors, the 4-year, $100 million deal. The reason why I'm going to say that is actually because if you lose Draymond, you're going to be losing one of your big core pieces of that Warriors franchise. And as much as I don't like the Warriors myself, I have to give it to them that they were able to still re-sign him and just keep him with Steph and Clay, because, you know, they don't really have a lot of size, and Kevon Looney cannot stay on the court, especially we saw in that Lakers series. Unfortunately, he kind of got played off the court, and Draymond was playing a lot of that 5. So I know they picked up Saric too, but that was just one that I wanted to point out real quick because I'm just like, Draymond, I know like he can't shoot, but he brings a lot of other intangibles you just can't teach always. Another one too, because I know like we've talked about the Lakers, Nick. I know that you were talking about all their signings. That was really good. The Rockets, obviously, they got a lot of guys. Dallas was another good one. But the Dante DiVincenzo signing for the Knicks, that was another one that I thought was pretty good. And I feel like we're going to have to start calling them the New York Wildcats because, I mean, at this point, just get Mikal Bridges and shoot, you got the band back together because you already had Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson. But I really think he's going to be good. Another 3-and-D guy in New York. He's going to definitely provide some good minutes off the bench for sure for Tom Thibodeau's unit. He's going to probably trust him a lot more.
And some
And
shooting.
yes. And that's one of the things the Knicks have struggled with is having consistent shooting on the floor. You have Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle, back to the basket kind of guys, like to live in the mid-range. So you only had like Grimes and Josh Hart can shoot the three, but like I think DiVincenzo's a better shooter overall than Hart. So I just think that like those moves were pretty good. And I think one other move I would like to say real quick is Cam Johnson. I know it's not a flashy signing or anything, but Cam Johnson is a really good player. And for Brooklyn, they gave up KD to re-sign him, and they'll probably re-sign Bridges too. But I think that was actually a really good move for the offseason. Cam Johnson's a good 4. I think that he can definitely continue to develop in Brooklyn. They're going to have a lot of wiggle room because right now they're kind of in a situation where it's like they have good pieces, but they don't necessarily have to feel like they need to contend right now. So it's kind of like they're in that window of that. So those are my 5. Do we want to give a biggest loser of free agency? Like each of you guys, like just give like one like biggest loser. Like what was a team that just like didn't do anything or just kind of like you just felt like they should have done something more?
So I'll go first. I'm sorry to cut you off, Nick. I just
No, you're good. You're good.
for me, it's definitely the Spurs. Now, I know that they definitely, I mean, they picked up Wemby, huge pickup, great work. And I do like the Spurs, but I mean, like their team is not going to be radically changed with just the one addition of Wemby. There's no like that team is really good, but there needs to be some sort of leadership, some sort of veterans there. I mean, like I think that the oldest player on that team is still very, very young. I mean, like maybe it's like Doug McDermott, if that. It's a very, very young team. I think that they're in that same sort of position that the Magic were a couple of years ago, where they've got really good players, but there's really not like I don't know, there's not someone that can corral them into moving forward. Now, obviously, they're under Coach Pop. That's going to get them somewhere. And they've got great assets with like Jeremy Sochan and definitely things like that. And I do appreciate the signing of Mamu. He's a very, underrated power forward center, but he's coming off the bench. I just think that I don't think that the Spurs are going to make it out of like the bottom tier of the standings this upcoming season. I don't think that they made any substantial moves to try to build around Wemby. I think that they're sort of setting him up to fail at least his first year.
That was my team. So I mean, now I'm gonna come up with a different team, but I couldn't agree more with you, man. I mean, I thought as soon as they got Wemby, I'm like, I was on this podcast, the last couple podcast episodes, like the Spurs shouldn't waste no time with just having Wemby. They should go out and get some guys, and they didn't do absolutely nothing in the offseason. I don't know what their salary cap situation was, but they do just like you said, Keldon Johnson, Trey Jones has involved. They got Vassell. They got a lot of young talent on this team, and I thought maybe they would have got some pieces, but they did absolutely nothing. So the Spurs, I 100% agree with you on that. So another team, I really hate to say it, it's the Chicago Bulls for me.
Yeah.
And the reason that being is because, they got Vooch on a discount. He could have signed for more somewhere else. But, they just re-signed. I think Kobe White was a good signing. I think he's going to be the leading scorer off the bench for this Bulls team. I like the Javon Carter signing, but I don't understand why they brought back Ayo Dosunmu. And where's he going to fit in this rotation now? Because me personally, I like Javon Carter better. I like Alex Caruso better. And Kobe White's definitely going to get more minutes than Ayo Dosunmu because Kobe White is probably the best point guard scorer that the Bulls have right now. I just don't understand why we really brought back Ayo. And the Torrey Craig, I mean, he's a very good defender and he can hit threes when he's open and stuff, but man, Grant Williams would have been a nice addition to this Bulls team. And he was just on a podcast talking about how he was in serious talks with the Bulls, and the Bulls front office yet again did not want to pull the trigger. And yet again, another year of the Chicago Bulls with Jerry Reinsdorf not wanting to go in the luxury, which is absolutely crazy because the Bulls sell out every game regardless. You're making a ton of money every year, no matter what kind of product you're putting on the floor. Dang, they had Paul Zipser, their starting small forward, and they sold out every game like 5-6 years ago. You know what I'm saying? So to me, I mean, yeah, the Bulls made some moves, but I mean, like they did not impress me one bit, especially like AK was like, oh, we're definitely going to go over to luxury. I got the approval to do this. Wait till the free agency starts.
Yeah.
They did not impress me.
Another issue that I have with the Bulls is that Javon Freeman Liberty, like the dude played his heart out in the summer league.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, offer him something. And there's all these talks that the Bulls try to talk to him and things like that, but to let this guy slip away is such a disappointing thing to see.
Yeah.
So just to add to what you're saying, I mean,
yeah, and a couple things for me real quick too is like the Bulls, like last year you saw this 500-ish team, no Lonzo Ball yet again, right? So you're thinking that they might make some changes, whether it's trading Zach or trading DeMar, doing something, but when's Patrick Williams gonna get his actual shot, get his actual opportunities? Like you're gonna start him at the 4, but when you have 3 guys on the floor that are so focused offensively, when is Patrick Williams gonna have the opportunity to blossom? And Dalen Terry was maybe the only first-round pick from last season to not even see the floor, really. So where's Dalen Terry? How is he going to grow as a player when he's not going to be seeing any minutes yet again, according to this rotation? So I just think this Bulls rotation just doesn't make sense. All these offensive talents that they had, they don't want to stay committed to the defense end of the floor. And then you have guys that are really, really good defensively or not really offensive threats. The only player on the Bulls to me that could do both is Patrick Williams, but the Bulls are not letting him have a real opportunity to really show his true potential.
That's very true, Nick. And I know I've mentioned this to you as well, seeing him play when he played Atlanta, like he had 18, but he looked really aggressive when he was playing. So he has those flashes and those opportunities to definitely like become a like really good 3-4 in the league. And he can shoot. Like he's got a good mid-range shot. The problem is when you have a guy like DeMar who lives in the mid-range, you have a guy in Vooch that's going to stay at the top of the key if it's going to be a pick and pop situation, or he's going to be living down low. So your paint is kind of like blocked. And then Zach loves to jack up a lot of threes, a lot of bad shots. Pat is just basically sitting in the corner half the time because he doesn't really get an opportunity. I like Dalen Terry too. He played really well in the summer league. I think that's another guy that should be on the Bulls' radar, possibly getting minutes. Because it's like, I mean, if somebody goes down, Dalen Terry should get a chance. But yeah, even Javon Freeman Liberty, like he had a really good summer league, and we need another wing. I don't get why we're not like considering that, but I get that you have DeMar and you have Zach and you have some other scorers on the team, but I'm just really disappointed with the Grant Williams one. That was my biggest one that I was really disappointed in. I just thought Torrey Craig is like a guy that he's a journeyman. Like, I don't really feel like he marginally makes us that much better. He's going to be a bench guy that's going to give us like 20 minutes a game, and it's going to be the same problem. We're going to be probably 40. We'll probably hover around 44 and 38 if we stay healthy, and that's it. Because that was actually one of my teams that I had also picked, but I'm actually going to give you two. I'm going to say the Nuggets and the Heat. And the reason why I'm going to give you both is because they really did not do anything. I mean, the Nuggets, all they did was re-sign Reggie Jackson. They let two of their key players, Bruce Brown and Jeff Green, walk. And the biggest one, too, was how Mike Malone was like saying, oh, man, I'm going to keep Bruce Brown. He's not going anywhere. And the fact is, when free agency started and you see breaking news, Bruce Brown has signed a 2-year, $47.5 million contract with the Pacers. I mean, I felt like that was a huge like shot in the chest to them, because I just felt like he was one of your key players of you winning this championship. Not to say the Nuggets are still deep, but it's like you can't let some of your guys walk. I think Christian Braun will have a good season, but that was mine. And then for Miami, actually, let me finish with the Nuggets. every team in the West got better, and the Nuggets kind of got marginally worse. So I feel like by like default, you kind of lost, even though you're still going to probably be the favorites. You still lost because basically you helped other teams get better. Maybe not from your own players, but just basically by not doing anything. And I get it.
Yeah, the issue is, though, they only had a mid-level exception, and Bruce
I
Brown
know.
was going to get a lot more money than
I
that. So
know.
Denver was kind of in a position where they really couldn't really do anything. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes sense, and I get it with the CBA and everything. It's like so hard to basically keep a team together now. Like we're gonna see that more and more coming in the next couple of free agencies, because you see how the CBA is now like basically like you can't create a super team. And the only reason I put Miami as well was, again, I know that they're like also in a situation where they probably don't have a lot of money to spend, but you know, you lost Strus and you lost Gabe Vincent. I felt like Gabe Vincent was more of a, I feel like that was a bigger impact because you still have guys like Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson that can shoot the three, but you don't really have a point guard other than Kyle Lowry, and Kyle Lowry is going to be 38 years old. So I feel like right now, like I like the Josh Richardson signing, bringing him back, but you still really don't have a point guard outside of Kyle Lowry. And they were talking about possibly like cutting Kyle Lowry. So it's like, who are you going to be really running at point next year? And I know the guy that they got from UCLA, he's supposed to be really good. I forget his name, but I just kind of felt like those two teams, ironically, were some of the biggest losers because they lost both of them lost key players that helped them get to where they were in the finals. So those are my two.
And Alex, I think that I think a big part of Miami's failure. So first off, I agree with what you're saying. I think a big part of Miami's shortcomings, I should say, are they were waiting for Dame. They were waiting for Dame's side to pick up the phone to figure something out. I think that the alternative thing, like what the Rockets did, I know that early on there was talks that Harden was going to come to the Rockets. And I think that they shut that down very quickly. They were like, we're not going to waste time. If we wait it out, we're going to be missing out on all this stuff. Rather than giving Harden all this money, they broke it up between Dillon Brooks and Van Vliet, made smart choices. I think Miami is still waiting for, the hot girl at prom. It's not happening. I think that they should have tried to do some sort of moves, and they didn't. I don't know if Dame is ever going to come to Miami. Dame doesn't seem like the type of guy to put on a fat suit like Harden and just bum out in Portland, but I don't think that the Miami Dame trade is happening anytime soon.
Yeah, I completely agree. And Dame, honestly, he needs to really start looking at different options, because I don't think Miami has enough to just do a straight up trade. That's another reason why they should have re-signed Gabe Vincent. That could have been another valuable piece into that trade. And obviously, yeah, they have Tyler Hero. He's probably going to be the best player that they can offer. But Portland has 3 young, up-and-coming star guards, with Scoot Henderson, with Simons, and Sharp. He's really shown in his time in the second half of the season, like he's got a bright future. And so Tyler Hero, he's kind of like a Simons, a guy that's going to average 20 points and stuff. He's kind of very similar. So I don't think they want both of those guys together on the floor and be like a very, very small team. So Miami's going to have to get a third or fourth team involved and pray that there's teams that are going to be giving Portland more first round picks, because Miami doesn't have that many, I don't believe, to give up.
Is it okay if we take just a little break right now?
Yeah, no, I was just about to say too, let's take a short break right now. When we come back, we're going to talk more about Summer League, the Jaylen Brown contract, and some early predictions for next season. So keep tuned, guys, and thank you for listening. Welcome back, guys. Sorry for the break, but we are back talking more about everything that's been going on in the NBA the past couple of weeks. Nick, I know you were in Vegas. I know you didn't get to see the Summer League, but you got to meet a lot of the players, so that was pretty dope.
That was definitely dope.
Yeah, I can't believe you met Bam, man. That was awesome.
That was in line to get into a Jack Harlow performance too. So that was dope for real. That was cool.
No, that's dope. Well,
Met
definitely
Kobe White at a Mexican restaurant. Talked about his contract, and he knew when I asked for a picture with him, he's like, "You were the first person to ask for a picture." I'm like, well, I'm from Chicago, so I know who you are, and we started laughing about it and stuff. So Kobe White's a cool dude.
Well, shout out Kobe White, man. Thank you
Yeah.
for
Shout out Kobe.
Shout out Kobe. So, all right, guys. So I know that this year's NBA draft has probably been one of the most talked about since the Andrew Wiggins, Jabari Parker draft, with Victor Wembanyama, Scoot Henderson, Brandon Miller being the top of the class, and then the Thompson brothers as well. So kind of wanted to get your guys' thoughts, feelings about, how did you guys feel about the summer league? Some players that, you want to talk about. I know we're going to probably, obviously, I'll say something about Wembanyama, just because. But Nick, do you want to start us off with that?
Yeah, sure. And I think both of the first round picks for Houston, they balled out. I mean, I know Amon Thompson only playing one game, but he did score 16, 5 assists, 4 rebounds, 3 steals. He had 4 blocks. He's a big guard. That's what a lot of people forget. This guy is very, very athletic. He could shoot the rock. I really like Amon Thompson. But Cam Whitmore, to me, was the biggest steal in the first round. Everyone talked about him. He was locked top 10. Fell all the way to 20th. And look at what he did in the summer. He played 6 games, averaged 19 points per game. He had over 5 rebounds and almost 3 steals a game. Cam Whitmore is really, really a talented player. Another player that's going to be coming off the bench for Houston that's really, really contribute right from the get-go. I think he's going to be a better scoring option than Dylan Brooks. So I think he's going to be really, really, really nice. Just like you said, Wemby, you got to talk about him, number 1 overall pick. His first game, he did not perform. It was probably just nerves because it was a sellout game, all the cameras, the spotlight, bunch of celebrities. They all want to see what this guy can really do, against like NBA somewhat talent. And his first game just didn't play well at all. But the second game, he played really, really well. And he ended up averaging 18, 10 with 4 blocks. He didn't shoot the ball particularly well, though. He only shot 30% from 3 in those 2 games and only 40% from the field as a 7'5" guy. So, I know he's more of a perimeter guy. He's not like a back to the basket really kind of guy too much, but with his skill set, he's going to be learning under Greg Popovich. I have no worries about Victor Wembanyama. Scoot Henderson only played 1 game, but he did score 15.6 assists, 5 rebounds. And, Portland realizes that they didn't want to leave him on the floor for more games because they don't want this guy to get hurt because they know his true potential. This man, I'm telling you, he might end up being the best player in this draft. That's the talent that he has. People forget he was in the NBA G League for 2 seasons and he started playing there at 17. This guy is so talented. And he went against Victor Wembanyama's team and he dropped 35. So he's got a lot of skill. And Brandon Miller played 5 games, averaged about 15. He had about 7 rebounds and about almost close to 4 assists per game. But one thing about him is he's a sniper. If you watch him at Alabama, but he just did not shoot the ball well at all during both summer leagues because he didn't only play in Vegas. He also played at the other summer league as well. And so he only had 31% from 3 and not even 40% from the field. I'm not worried about Brandon Miller. I think he's going to pair really, really nice with LaMelo because he could play off ball and stuff. So, those are probably the main guys, and the other Thompson brother from Detroit played really, really well as well.
Oh, definitely, man. And just wanted to real quickly say, Brandon Miller definitely also had a stat too. He could have fouled out of every game that he was playing in because that dude had 7 personal fouls in his first summer league game, which is insane. You just don't see that, but they don't foul them out. I just thought that's funny.
Was that in the first half?
I think it was something crazy.
I think he had 6 in the first half. But it was something crazy in the first half. But even 7 for the full game is something. Yeah.
Ali, how do you give us your thoughts of like the summer league? Anybody you want to talk about? I know you talked about Javon Freeman Liberty already, but anybody else you want to talk about?
Honestly, if I had to pick an MVP, it would be Javon Freeman Liberty. That man, just incredible performance, completely underrated. And he made the second league and second team. But honestly, this is a huge, like the people that are playing in this summer league, he easily could have been first team as well. There's a lot of talent that was playing in the summer league. I join in what Nick is saying. Cam Whitmore, I knew about him vaguely. I was like, this is going to be a top 5 pick. When he fell to 20, I was like, what is there? Like, what's going on? Seeing this guy play in the summer league, you don't see it like when you're like hearing about him and stuff like that, but he's a big guy. He's strong, he's fast, and like seeing him actually like play is just incredible. I think another thing was Chet. I'm gonna be one of those people. I'm gonna be honest. Up until like a month ago, I forgot that Chet Holmgren was a person. I knew like it was all this hype that he's second pick and everything, um, and then he gets like injured in a Drew League game, and then that's about it. And
By Braun, tough.
by Braun, and he's been quiet. No one like I haven't heard anything about him. I saw a picture of him with a beard, and I was like, I don't know what this is gonna do, but he balled out in summer league. I mean, he did a really good job. He also grew in height, apparently. I think that he's going to be really good, especially with this OKC team. They are going to be really something to watch. So I think that Chet definitely balled out um, for this summer league.
I know
Yeah,
Nick.
he did grow a couple inches, by the way. I bumped into him in Vegas as well. I didn't get a picture with him. He was on his phone waiting to get in at it for a dinner reservation or something at the Aria Hotel. But no, man, he's a legit if whatever his height that they say is, he's a legit 7'1", 7'2". Just got to put on a little more muscle though. But he's got a lot of talent though. He could shoot. He could create his own shot. He could drive to the lane. He can post up a little bit. He's a little bit like Wemby.
Yeah.
I definitely would say too, it's kind of crazy of like how we talk about Victor Wembanyama, and then there was a guy like Bol that was supposed to be Wembanyama before a couple of years ago. And one thing that I wanted to know about Wembanyama too is like I will give him a lot of respect. He decided to not play with the FIBA France team to focus on being here and playing for the Spurs organization, dedicating himself to the coaching staff and Coach Pop himself. I think the biggest problem with today's NBA is that the media does really control the narrative. And if you play bad and you were given all this like hype and praise before, if any struggle at all is basically like you're going to get bashed by everybody. And I think that that's just unfortunately the situation that Victor found himself in after the first game, because I know that a lot of people went on social media, were calling out like, why is the media defending him? And that's just kind of like what we started to see. Obviously, in the second game, he picked it up a lot more. We saw more of what we expect to see from him in the league. And I think like a fair argument is to say he could easily average like 19 and 10 his first year with San Antonio. And that's pretty good. I don't know if you guys feel this way, but I really do feel like Chet Holmgren, it's going to be another situation like Ben Simmons and Donovan Mitchell back when Simmons won Rookie of the Year over Donovan Mitchell, even though he wasn't a rookie. And I know this has happened a couple of times, but just with the way Ali, I know you mentioned about Chet Holmgren as well. And Nick, I know you said like he's a legit 7'2". This dude can shoot. And I think he'll definitely basically show like, hey, I know I'm skinny, but I can still like ball in this league. So I'm curious, what do you guys think about that? You think like that could happen?
I think so. I think that part of it has to do with like Nick, you mentioned this earlier. A lot of it has to do with confidence. I think that Chad, he's coming in, he's already got a year under his belt. He's also, I mean, like he lives in America. When looking at Wemby, this is a guy that's coming here. It's a new place for him. He's adjusting, he's learning the rules of the NBA. I mean, they're very similar, but obviously there are different things that we have going on here, different cultures, different traditions. So it's going to take him, he's on a learning curve, basically. I could very easily see Chet being a favorite for Rookie of the Year. I wouldn't be surprised if he won over Wemby. I also think that like as it relates to confidence, if I'm Wemby, I'm not going to be like a flashy showboater guy and basically shoot out my teammates. I mean, like even when he was on that France team, he was there for his teammates. I mean, Kulasabi. I'm butchering his name. I'm very sorry to the man, but he was very like selfless. He was very there for his teammates. I don't think that he's going to give all of that up to be in San Antonio and just be a very disrespectful teammate to his team. I think that he's going to rely on his team a lot, especially the first few years. He's going to be looking to them for advice, support. Probably, he's going to be more of an assister, a rebounder, maybe not a shot scorer.
I mean, I definitely agree. It's going to be a transition for him coming from the EuroLeague to the NBA, and we've seen like guys like Luka be able to transition very easily to it. And then there's guys that take a little bit more time. It really just always depends on like who it is. And I mean, like I think one of the things too is that we're going to really see what he has when he's got to go against the big bodies in the NBA, because I think that's going to be the real big test with a guy. Because I think one of the things that we saw last year was Chet Holmgren got bullied by Kenny Lofton in the paint, because Kenny Lofton has got about 100 pounds on him. And that's one thing that I could see with Victor when you go against a guy like a Joel Embiid, like a Nikola Jokic, like a LeBron James or an Anthony Davis, or honestly, like any of like your other big guys if Zion plays too. Like those guys can, bully you down low, and they know that he's not going to have the frame yet to be able to withstand all of that. And that's the one thing I want to see, is how much muscle he put on, because I don't want to see it become a Giannis situation where he can't shoot anymore because he put on too much muscle, where his shoulders are basically to the point where it's like that shot form just isn't going to work anymore. So he's got to find that in between, like Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant's strong. He doesn't look like he's strong, but he's a really strong player. Like he's got to figure that out. I know that we also talked about Cam Whitmore as well. Ironically, I did not hear too much about Cam Whitmore, but I also don't follow college basketball as much. But I do remember that one of the biggest things of why he fell was because he did really bad at the draft combine, and like he looked very lazy, was the words that I believe I read. And it's kind of crazy that he dropped down all the way to Houston. And I think that he definitely is going to be an impact player. A lot of teams are going to regret not going after him, even with what happened. Like, I mean, shoot, if the Bulls could have had him too, I would have said, please take him. So I'm being honest, he's going to be one of the top guys in this draft. So definitely agree with you guys on there about that. And then Brandon Miller, real quick. We'll see if he can stay out of foul trouble in the actual games, because he only gets 6. So let's see if he can control himself a little bit more. But I know that one of the biggest things that's happened in the last couple of days is the Jaylen Brown signing. I know we've been hearing about the $300 million contract, and it has officially come, guys. Brad Stevens has basically given this guy a lot of money. So I want to hear from both of you guys. How do you feel about this contract signing? How much do you think it was an overpay? I think it was an overpay, but how do you guys think, and how much of an overpay was it? Because, everybody's going to get overpaid, but was it too much?
You want to go first?
Yeah, if that's okay. So
yeah, go right ahead.
I don't think it's an overpay. I think that, he's probably the first person that is going to get one of these bigger trades or bigger deals, I should say. Whenever these like big deals happen the first time, they're really crazy and everyone has their eyes lit up. Like when Russ got his big contract, it was like, this is an insane contract. It makes no sense at the time because like, is Russell really worth this? But for a guy like Jaylen Brown, he's a consistent guy, right? I know I've been seeing a lot of things about people saying that he's not the best player on the Celtics. Maybe, maybe not, but he's definitely a solid guy who's very consistent. If your biggest liability is you can't go left, I think that's fine because that means that you can go right. That means that you can shoot. That means that he's a solid rebounder, right? He's not, he's a shorter guy. He's 6'6", but he is getting crazy boards. He plays pretty good defense.
Super athletic.
And he's super athletic. And he's a very quiet guy. He's not like a locker room cancer. He's not being on like the media outlets. He's not getting into trouble. He's a very solid dude. And I think that this is a very good contract for him. I think that not only for him, but for the Celtics as well. They're showing that they are interested in keeping Brown. They want him to stay there. They're banking on a success. I mean, even if you look at this Celtics team, they're a very good team, right? They lost Marcus Smart, they picked up Porzingis, but with the combo of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, they're doing well. They made the finals 2 years ago. They made the Eastern Conference finals last year. I think that they have the ability to continue to just have success. They're edging to greatness, and I think that they could make it all the way. I don't know if they have it now, but at least this way they're sort of investing in Jaylen Brown and saying, we believe in you. You can do this. Take us to the promised land. I don't think this is an overpay at all. I really think that this is just the first contract of the many that are going to come in the next few years. He might just be the first, but I guarantee that we're going to see contracts like this pretty much regularly. It looks on its face to be a very crazy amount of money. He's going to be the first guy that's going to get this insane amount of money. But I don't think that it's undeserved. I don't think that it's, misplaced. I just think that he's just the first of many of these great athletic guys that you don't want to lose to other teams. If you lose Jaylen Brown and he goes and he plays for the Sixers, for example, now all of a sudden he goes from being an asset on your team to a liability. And how are you going to fill that gap? Jaylen Brown is very easily top three, if not like the best shooting guard in the league right now. Um, I stand by that. I mean, like I can't think of like many other players that are better than him. Maybe Donovan Mitchell, Zach LaVine is somewhat up there, but short of them, there's really not much. Like Clay is more of a three, but even Clay Thompson is sort of on the decline of his peak. I
I
think
can
that.
name one.
Who are you thinking about?
Devin Booker.
And Devin Booker, I think he's more of a three, and even now in his role in Phoenix, I don't even know how that's going to work out for him because he's going
It'd
to
be
be,
interesting.
yeah. I mean, like the Suns team is there, but nevertheless, I still think that Jaylen Brown's contract is appropriate.
All right. I mean, that's fair. I think you made some good points on that. Definitely, like he'll be one of the first to get it. I know, Nick, you were talking earlier about SGA, right? Like in how much he's going to get paid.
They're saying it's going to be in the 400s when his contract's up if the NBA keeps growing. Just like I said, like I agree with of why you should pay Jaylen Brown. I might give a little of why you shouldn't got all that money, but in all due respect, Jaylen Brown is a really, really talented player. He's one of the best second options you can have in the NBA. You know what I'm saying? And look at this is his last, I pulled up some stats. This is his last 4 seasons. He has averaged at least 20 or more a game because his first couple of years, he wasn't really like what he is now. Mm-hmm. But his last 4 years overall, he's averaged about 24 points per game. His scoring's going up every year. His rebounding, he's at 6.4 the last 4 years. It's going up every year. He's shooting 48.2% from the field for 4 years. Just like he said, he's super, super efficient. And he's shooting about 37% from three. So he could really, really shoot the ball as well. And he's been a 2-time All-Star, and he's made it just this past season in 2021. And then he was an All-NBA second team this year too. So, Jaylen Brown is a really, really talented player. And I give him a lot of credit because the last few years, a lot of people forget about this. Like he's been in the trade talks for the last few off seasons. Kevin Durant won. Even with Dame, Boston, they want to go after Dame. Portland's going to want Jaylen Brown. It's just as simple as that. It is what it is. And obviously there was even little rumors about before James Harden went to Brooklyn and stuff like that, like Boston was really considered. That's what James Harden was still like at his peak before all the hamstring injuries, before all that happened and stuff like that too. So, but I think it is a little bit of an overpay because if you really think about it, it's $60 million a year. And could Jaylen Brown on another team, could he be the best option on a team to win a championship? Like I said, really, really good player. I love Jaylen Brown. I love his game. He gives it all on both sides of the floor. I love him, but I just don't think he could be the best player on a team to win a championship. Now, I'll say this. If Boston would have won the finals that year, he would have won finals MVP over Tatum. That's a fact.
Yeah.
Tatum just did not perform
100%
whatsoever. But now you pay Jaylen Brown all this money, right? How much is Tatum going to get paid in the following offseason? He's going to get paid about $20 million he's about to get.
I think it might be even a little bit more, like 330.
Yeah, so now you have two guys who are going to accumulate over $600 million. And when their other good players' contracts come up, are they going to be able to afford it? How much over the luxury are they going to be able to go? And with the money that Jaylen Brown just got, would you rather have Jaylen Brown or have all that money just to keep building the right pieces around Jason Tatum? I think with Boston too, they really still, I think the biggest problem too with this team still, like Alex, we talked about this a lot, not having a point guard.
Yeah.
Derek White's a great player. He's a great player, but they don't have that floor general point guard because Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, this was the issue before they got Kristaps Porzingis too. They play the same style. They like to go ISO. Yes, they could shoot the three. They could get to the rim at will, all that kind of stuff. But when you don't have a big that you can't play 2-man action with, good defensive teams will load up on you. And that's why they haven't been able to win a championship. And in crunch time, they've always been the bottom of the league in scoring because they just go ISO. And when you play good defensive teams, like when they made it to the finals against Golden State, they'll be able to figure you out. Miami, they'll be able to figure you out.
Yeah.
But I do Jaylen Brown's a really, really good player, but is he even a top 12 player in the league?
I wouldn't say he is. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't think he is. He's close.
I think he's top 15. I think he's borderline top 15, but is he even like top 12? And this guy he's got the highest contract in NBA history. Like I always said, like there's going to be a lot more players that are going to get a bag. Like Jason Tatum's going to get paid more than him. SGA, when he comes up next time, when Giannis comes up, when Luka comes up, all these other players, they're going to get. Those guys are going to be getting like over $70 million a year. So this is just the first domino to fall because the NBA is growing so much where the revenue keeps coming in more and more and more and more and more, and these players are going to get more and more and more and more money. Look at even in this offseason, just like solid players are getting $20 million a year now.
Yeah,
Bruce Brown, solid player, got over $20 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I mean, rookie extensions. I mean, like Ant is getting 265. Like,
yeah,
and like that's an insane amount of money. He deserves it.
Yeah,
he's a phenomenal player.
Yeah,
but like that's a lot of money for a young guy.
Yeah,
that's true.
So like for me with Jaylen Brown, I see why you pay him all that, but I could also see the little downfall of just being overpaid a little bit. That's just how I look at it. Great player though.
No, I agree with you. I think you guys both make good points. Ali, your points about it's going to happen regardless. Like, yes, I do agree. The way that the NBA is working, and I know like that obviously every year the NBA has grown, the revenue becomes bigger, the collective bargaining agreement becomes bigger. And I think, Nick, you alluded to this too, is I'd rather have that money to be able to pay for, a better team. And the point guard thing, they still have not fixed that issue. They did fix the issue with the big and then being able to stay on the floor. Porzingis was a great trade for them. And I think that's a stepping stone. I think one of the biggest issues now, though, is that you have Kristaps, you have Jason Tatum, and you have Jaylen Brown. When Jason Tatum re-ups, they are not going to have a mid-level exception. They will not be able to get draft capital because the way the CBA works now is that it basically stops teams from being able to compile all these assets and then being able to just like push their chips in to compete. And this is something that because of what the Warriors did for that half decade, they don't want to see that anymore. I think that Jason Tatum will definitely deserve his money, but Jaylen Brown, I think that he's worth a lot of money. I don't disagree. Like, should he get paid more than Zach? Yes. I think he's better than Zach LaVine. I'm not going to like sit here. And Zach got paid a lot of money last year. Like he was the highest paid Bulls player ever because Jerry Reinsdorf's the cheapest owner in the league. Like we all know that, unfortunately. And the thing with like Jaylen Brown is that like he's your second best player and you're paying him $60 million a year. He's not even your best player. And the fact that you're going to pay your best player even more is pretty wild. And then Nick, I know we've talked about this. Jaylen Brown definitely is the MVP. If they win 2 seasons ago now, if they won that ring, we're going to be talking about Jaylen Brown, not Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum was not that guy in that series. And we know how well Jaylen Brown is as a player. He's phenomenal. He's a great two-way player. I think that there's not a lot of guys out there. And something else that both of you mentioned is that, he was in trade talks with Kevin Durant, and this guy has not requested for a trade. He did not like throw a pout. He did not wear a fat suit. He didn't like basically like make every like hints that, hey, I don't want to be here anymore. He stayed and he got paid. Now, I don't know where this team is going to be by the trade deadline because we got to see how all of this meshes. And we got to see also how they play without Marcus Smart. Now, I get that Marcus Smart was more of a defensive-minded guy. Let's see how they play without him because that was one of their big identities. I want to see another season of Joe Mazzulla as the head coach as well. See how the players respond after, losing in 7 in the Eastern Conference Finals. But yeah, I think Jaylen Brown probably, if I was just going to give him a contract, I probably would have given him something more like 275, 280. I think 300 is just a little too much, but that's just my opinion. And I still think he got the money he deserved, but I just think it's insane. I'm ready for the day somebody gets a Patrick Mahomes type of contract where it's $500 million, like $500 million. Some player is going to sign that one day. We don't know.
In baseball, in baseball, that's about to be Shohei Ohtani. different sport we're talking about, but that is definitely going to happen.
Yeah, Mbappe didn't he just like sign like almost like $1 billion like deal? Like, I mean, that's just the fact of sports now. Sports have become such a big part of our lives, and the amount of money that goes into it, like teams can pay this ridiculous amount. It's insane, but it will happen. But I would say before we wrap this up, do we want to give our way too early predictions for our top 8 in the East and the West? And if you guys want to include your 2 play-in teams, because I know that there's going to be the 9 and 10 is technically part of the playoffs. If you want to give that, you can. Otherwise, just give your top 8. It doesn't have to be in order. Just give the 8 that you think are going to be there when the playoffs start next year.
So I'll go first. For the West, I think that, everything you said about the Nuggets is true, but Jokic is Jokic, and he's a great guy. Jamal Murray is phenomenal. They had a great season. I think that Nuggets are going to be number 1. Then the Suns. I think that gotta at least entertain the idea of them doing good, and I think the Suns are going to do that. The Clippers, then the Kings. Kings are heavily slept on. Sabonis was also a great re-up that they did. I think Rockets are going to be the 5 seed in the West. Then the Grizzlies, the Mavericks, and then I think the Timberwolves. I don't think the Lakers are going to be in the 8. They might be a play-in team at 9, but I don't see them coming in at 8. And then for the East, I think that the Cavs are going to be number 1. I think that 2 is going to be Bucks, 3 Celtics, 4 I think it's going to be the Brooklyn Nets. I think that Ben Simmons is finally going to get an opportunity to showcase his career. This is going to be a really good opportunity for him to play around Mikal Bridges. He's going to be like that leadership role on the floor. I think that he's going to get an opportunity to be that point guard on this team and have that opportunity to show everyone who he really is. I think I've got the Sixers at 5. If Harden stays, I've got Sixers at 5. I've got the Bulls at 6. I believe in them. I've got the Magic at 7, and I've got the Heat at 8.
Okay. Just real quickly, I know you're a Ben Simmons fan.
Ben Simmons guy.
I'm sorry, man. I've seen you get roasted on Twitter for your trades, but please, Nick, you know what? You go ahead. I know you need to say something about this too.
Wow, man. I wish the Bulls would come in 6. I hope that, but Brooklyn, I think you're just ranking them too high. They do got a lot of young talent though. I think they could definitely make the playoffs or at least make the plan, but Brooklyn's gonna be one of those teams that's gonna always be playing hard every single night. They're gonna be very scrappy. And Ben Simmons, does have some guys that could shoot the rock, and Nick Claxton's really, really solid too. So I think Ben Simmons is gonna have a better year than he's shown, but I don't know if he could ever get back to like his all-stars days when he was with Philly. I think now that the game has grown so much more with the shooting purposes, and if he's unwilling to still take a 15-foot jumper, I just don't see where his now he's going to get a lot of it in transition. He could get on the block, he could post up offensive rebounding and stuff. Fourth quarter though, he could still be a liability at the free throw line. Now that's another big thing in Ben Simmons' game. I hope he's just working on that jump shot, man. Because I remember just a few years ago when he was with Philly, everyone was like, he's a jump shot away from LeBron for being a LeBron.
That's true.
When he was coming up,
true.
He was a really good player at one point. Hopefully he could come back to that one day. I just don't know if I see it this year, but we'll see though. We'll see. I guess I'll start. So in the East, I don't have like a ranking. I just kind of put teams. So the 8 teams I got: Boston, Milwaukee, Philly, Cleveland, the Knicks, Miami, Atlanta, and Chicago. And then I also have Indiana as the 9 probably. And then the 10, I think it's going to be the mixture of the Nets and Raptors. Raptors, they got a lot of talent on this team, but, if they are going to be under 500 going to the deadline, is Pascal Siakam going to get traded? Is OG Anunoby going to get traded? They still got some guys on the team that a lot of teams would want. And I think Toronto's not going to want to go through another year like they just had this past season. A lot of talent, mediocre team. I mean, they lost to the Bulls at home in the play-in.
That's true. But it was DeAndre DeRozan that was definitely causing that.
Yeah. And Zach was balling that game.
He was. And that's what we want to see more. But you got to see if that happens.
So I guess with the Western Conference, obviously Denver's still going to be one of those top teams. I know they lost in talent, but I think Christian Braun is really going to show this year. You know, he's going to have a huge role with this team, a lot more minutes, and they're going to really need him off the bench to really be that, not only like an energy guy, but they need some scoring up because they lost some guys.
Mm-hmm.
The Lakers added a lot, man. They added a lot of talent. They kept a lot of their guys. Question is the health. Can LeBron stay healthy? Can Anthony Davis? Anthony Davis has been getting hurt a lot and stuff like that, but they did add some talent, and they kept Reeves and Rui Hachimura. No one thought that they were going to be able to re-sign those guys. So, you know, I like the Lakers. I think the Grizzlies are going to be still a playoff team. I know Ja's going to miss the first 25 games, but in recent history, the Grizzlies win a lot of games without Ja on the floor.
True.
I'm not saying they're a better team without Ja on the floor, but, you know, as history's shown, they could win some. They still got a lot of talent to win some games without Ja the first 25 games. Sacramento, and I think they're going to be one of those teams too. Washington, watch Washington, because they're going to be a bad team. And I think Kyle Kuzma's going to end up in Sacramento to be the 3 at some point. Phoenix, Clippers, you know, I think Golden State with Steph, I mean, they're still going to be, and Steph is just that talented of a player. And then I got the Dallas Mavericks creeping into the top 8. They got more defense this year. I think with a full season with Luka and Kyrie, they'll at least make the playoffs, in my opinion. But the 2 teams, I got the Rockets, obviously. They could definitely make the playoffs, though. Like, Houston's a really, really deep team, but we got to see how his rotations for Ime Udoka are going to happen.
That's true.
My 10th spot, I think Oklahoma City, they're going to be better this year. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a top 10 player in the league. You know, now hopefully Chet Holmgren can stay healthy. You can see what he's got, but they got a lot of great young talent on this team. They made the play-in last year without even Chet Holmgren. You know, so I think with Chet Holmgren, I think they're going to be better. So I think they're going to get in. But I think teams I have that could potentially sneak in, obviously Minnesota, the Pelicans, like, is Zion ever going to come back? Or is he going to still be messing with porn stars? You know, we'll see what he's doing.
Yeah, he's got to be smarter on that one.
CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram, like, they got a lot of talent, man. They just need Zion to be available. Like, flat out, Zion's available. They're a top 5 team in the West, probably. I mean, they were number 2 before Zion went down last year, you know? And obviously, we'll see how big of a contribution how big of an impact he could be his first year. But they didn't add no pieces in the offseason, so but we'll see. But that's my rankings.
All right. Nick, I just want to add one thing, Alex, before you go off. The West is so talented. I mean, like, there's no very clear this is the number 1 team. I think that we're getting back into that, you know, Kobe era of the Western Conference, like in 2008, 2010, where like the number 1 seed is like 57 wins, and then the number 8 seed is like 50 wins. Like, it's going to be very, very close. I don't think it's going to be very clear where like one team, like this year, like how like the Nuggets were very clearly the number 1 seed. I think that there's going to be like far more competition, and it's going to be way closer to figure out who's going to be those 8 seeds. And I think the play-in is really going to be a coin toss.
No, it's definitely true. I would definitely agree. And like, I think there's 12 teams in the West that could definitely make the playoffs. Like, you could argue each of them. So I'm going to real quickly just go through mine, because I have really the same for like you guys. Nuggets obviously are going to be up there, no doubt. Defending champs, Jokic, Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, and the crew, like they're going to do what they need to do. I have the Lakers and the Suns, and both of them I did put an asterisk based on health. I think that if they can both stay healthy for a majority of the season, which means like LeBron plays 65 games, AD plays like 65 games, I think they'll be fine. I think if KD can stay healthy and also Book, if they can both stay healthy, I think they'll be there. Sacramento, I think another year with this core is going to help them get better. Memphis, even without Ja, they're still a really talented team. Marcus Smart and Derrick Rose is your pickups too. Clippers, I know we didn't talk about Westbrook re-signing, but I think perfect fit as a point guard for them. I do have the Mavs as one of my top teams. I just feel like the additions that they made in the offseason, Luka and Kyrie will understand how to play with each other more. The Warriors are in my top 8 still. You have a guy like Chris Paul that's going to probably come off the bench too. I think that he'll be able to lead the second unit. I think they'll be better this year. I don't know where they'll fall, but I'm going to put them there. My 2 play-in teams are going to be the Rockets and OKC. If Houston can mesh, they're going to have a chance to be a top 8 team. But I could also say the same thing about OKC. If they play the way that they were at the end of the season and with Chet Holmgren, they're going to be there. On the East, Celtics for sure with Kristaps. The Bucks, don't really have to say much about that. Cavs, Knicks, Sixers, Miami, Atlanta. And I actually had the Raptors as one of my top 8 teams. And the only reason why was because I just don't know what's going to happen with the Bulls. If they don't play well, are there going to be moves? And what is the future? So that's like why I can't put them in the top 8. I do have them in the play-in, but I just don't know. And my other team in the play-in that I have is Indy. And it's with Bruce Brown. If Tyrese Halliburton can stay healthy, we'll see. But it could flip-flop. The Bulls could be a top 8 team, but we never know. But those are my predictions, my early predictions, and we'll see what happens. But guys, before I wrap it up, I just want to say thank you, Ali, for coming on to the podcast today. Ali, if you want to tell the fans where they can follow you on social media.
Yeah, of course. So on Twitter, I'm Pink Snuggie Swag. It's all one word. I made it when I met Alex back in high school. So you can find me there. Otherwise, I'm always tweeting and responding to All Ball, No Foul podcast. I love you guys. I love all the tweets that you guys do. I love the podcast. So I'm glad that I got to be a part of it today.
Appreciate it, man. It means a lot.
Yeah, no, definitely appreciate it. And for all you guys listening out there, we appreciate you guys listening till the end of the episode. Please follow Ali on Twitter to see more of his Ben Simmons defense tweets over here. Please follow us on Twitter if you haven't already. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. And for Nick and myself, I just want to say, appreciate you guys a lot. And remember, guys, appreciate life. Continue to always strive to do more. And just remember that the time on this earth is very limited. So please go out every day and do something either fun, crazy, or just like enjoy the moment, because you never know. And I just want to say again, thank you. Nick, if you want to add anything else before we sign off.
Man, that was perfect, man. I don't know how I could add to that. So, Alex, that was really good right there.
No, appreciate it. And no, thank you guys for doing this. It was a great time, and hope to have more content coming out soon. So keep looking out for it. And for everybody here, this has been All Ball, No Foul. Thank you for listening. Have a good night, and we'll see you soon.